Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah. Now, Yahweh Shah, who they ignorantly called Jesus Christ, who had a Hebrew name, not a Greek name, he gave us specific instructions, and he gave us heads up on when these things would come to pass, because his disciples at that time, they was concerned. So it's in Matthew 24 verse 3, it says, "And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world?" Now, that wasn't the only place where it talks about the end of the world. It's in many places in the Hebrew scriptures before Yahushua even came onto the earth and was born, that it was being broken down on how the end of the world would happen. But they wanted to hear it from his mouth. They knew what the prophet said, but they wanted to hear it from Yahushua's mouth on how the end of the world was going to take place. So he let them know what to look out for and everything. And so, but when you look at verse 8, he told them the beginning. In verse 8, he say, "All these are the beginning of sorrows." You see, he gave them the beginning of sorrows, and then he gave them some key points to recognize once it has begun. He told them that the iniquity in 12, he say, "The iniquity shall abound, and love of many shall wax off." So sin shall be great. People will be sinning at an alarming rate. And it would be so bad. In verse 22, he said, "Except those days should be shortened, there shall be no flesh saved. But the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened." You see? And so he had to shorten up the days. So it had to be a life and death situation, because he got to shorten up these days. But see, the prophet Esdras was also given the end of the world. He was also given the end of the world. Now, and at the same place he was given the end of the world, he was given the internet. This internet, you got brethren communicating with each other in the four corners of the earth. You got the Israelites communicating with each other that's in many different states and many different countries, but they sitting down with each other and communicating with each other and learning from each other and motivating each other, and they gathering themselves together. That's how they gathering themselves together in the last days, because they not all in one place. So you got Second Esdras, and I'm gonna start it at verse 20. Second Esdras verse 20. It said, "And when the world that shall begin to vanish away," you see, this is the end of the world that Esdras is bringing out. When shall be the end of the world? the disciples asked Yahushua, well, this is it. Esdras was given it. He said, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away, that means when the world begin to end and shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. These books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. So the books is open with the World Wide Web, the internet. It's a World Wide Web where now the books is being opened and all the Israelites can see, because everybody in the world can get on the internet and they can see the books. They can understand the book. They can hear a prophet speaking the words that's in the book. In verse 21, it said, and the children of a year old shall speak with their voices, and women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 years old. Now my daughter was born in 4 months, and they shall live and be raised up. You see, you got premature babies in the world. Now you got, in this truth, you got babies in the truth too, and they will be able to learn. You can learn this truth in 3 to 4 months. You see, 3 to 4 months, you can go into this World Wide Web, get to one of these camps or one of these prophets through the tube that understand the truth, and he will break it down to you, and they will break it down to you. So let's get to the guts of it. It say, verse 22, it say, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. So now the sown places are the crops. We see that food is becoming scarce. The farmers have said it's bankrupt time. We gonna apply for bankruptcy because we ain't making no money off planting these crops. And then the water, the groundwater, which they use, almost 100% of the time, they're using groundwater to grow their crops. That is being depleted. You see? So the food already scarce. But it say, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Now that means the stores will suddenly be found empty. People are scared because the plagues is hitting Egypt again, and people are being quarantined, and so they have to get all of their stuff. So if they have to be stuck in their house and can't go out in the public, they want to be able to have food and their supply. So people stocking up and making the store found empty. So the store, it say, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. You see, now the stores ain't all the way empty right now, but if you getting a prelude, you getting a preview of what's finna happen. The coronavirus making people go buy up all the bleach, the soap, the hand washing sanitizer, the cleaning products, but they not just buying that either, because they hearing quarantine too. So they starting to buy up the bread, the milk, the cheese. You see, they starting to buy up all the storable food that you can store up. They starting to buy it, and people in the grocery store trying to stock up their house with food, because they don't know what's coming. That's why I say in 23, this second Esdras 6:23, it saying the trumpet shall give a sound, and when every man heareth, they shall suddenly be afraid. And 24 said, and at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Now 25 is the key. Whosoever remaineth from all these things, all these that I have told thee shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. You see, Ezra was given the end of the world. Just like Yahushua gave his disciples the end of his version of the end of the world and what they need to look out for, Ezra was given the end of the world. Because it started in verse 20 and it took it all the way down to verse 25, where it say, whoever survive all of this, who survive when the stores get empty and everybody get afraid because there ain't no food on the shelf and they go to fighting each other, whoever gonna survive that situation, they gonna be able to see the salvation. Whoever survived that situation, they gonna be able to see the salvation. Now when you go to 16, he didn't end it on that. He got more clarity, because at the end of his book, he got more information on the end of the world. More detailed information, because chapter 6 is thoroughly on the end of the world. He said, 16, I'm sorry, Salakia, 2nd Ezra chapter 16, he talks about quarantine, being quarantined. I think it's 29, 28. He talks about the being quarantined due to these plagues. Now he said, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth. You see, the food, the cheapest you ever seen in your life. 27, that's what it is. So he give them a lot of detail. Food cheap. And when they see that them shelves gonna get empty, then they gonna know. He gave you a quick one in chapter 6. He just gave you a quick rundown. But then he went to putting in some detail. When the food is cheap on the earth, people gonna be evil and do wickedness. They gonna think everything good. But then he say, then the famine gonna come. Then the food that's in the storehouses gonna disappear. And then all heck gonna break loose. You see? Then in 27 he say, so the one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice. He gonna desire to enter into a city and can't. He say all places shall be desolate of men. You ain't gonna be able to find people. People gonna be hiding because all heck gonna break loose. They gonna be people fighting against one another. They gonna be trying to hide somewhere to survive the situation. Now it talked about for of a city there shall be 10 left. He gave one good one that was talking about how a man would desire to enter into a city and can't. That might be in 15. Because I think the end of the end of 16, he talks about how they're gonna be going inside people's houses, raiding people's houses, looking for food. You see, 15, he talk about it should be sedition among men, invading one another. That's when he said it. 15, 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. That's 2nd Ezra 15, 17. So it's quarantine all in the Bible. Quarantine all in the Bible. People invading one another. And see, these dragons gonna realize who was prophesying and who was telling the truth. And that's why in 71 of 2nd Ezra, it brings you to the conclusion when Yahushua gonna come out there, what's gonna get Yahushua coming out the house. He said, for there's coming out the sky, Salakia. For there shall be in every place and in the next city a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. You see, they looking for the Israelites who was keeping the commandment. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. You see, they're going to be looking for the people that ain't took the chip. They're going to be looking for the people that's been prophesying. They're going to be looking for these people. Like, oh, he coming to save y'all. We going to gather y'all up and kill y'all. That's why we going through all this, because he coming to save y'all. They going to realize that they got a short period of time, and they going to realize who is going to be saved and who was telling the truth this whole time. But I'm going to leave it right there. Second Ezra 6, 15, 16 told you about the end of the world. Yahushua, Matthew 24, broke down the end of the world. In Luke 24, he said, lift up your head. When people start be fainting out of fear, it's going to be so scared. You lift up your head because you know redemption is coming. When you see these people get so scared, they commit suicide and having heart attacks. But I'm going to leave that right there. Quarantine in the Bible. All praise to Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shabbat, Hashem Kakadash. Double honor to the elders. Peace to the elect. Death to America. Death to these red dragons. Shalom.